Vambravatati sagaha Sthiti samyama evacha Gunavyati karat rajan Maya paramatmanaha. Vaishnavis? Evam pravatati sakha Sthiti samyama evacha Gunavayati karat rajan Maya paramatmanaha. Evam pravatati sakha Sthiti samyama evacha Gunavyati karat rajan Maya paramatmanaha. Okay. Evam thus pravratate occurs. Sargaha, creation. Sthiti, maintenance. Samyamaha, annihilation. Okay. Eva, certainly. Cha, and guna, of the modes. Vyatikarat, by interaction. Rajan, O king. Mayaya, by the illusory energy. Parama Atmanaha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation. Manu continued, My dear King Dhruva, it is simply by the illusory material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by the interaction of the free modes of material nature that creation, maintenance, and annihilation take place. Purport by His Grace Srila Prabhupada. First, creation takes place with the ingredients of the 5 elements of material nature. Then, by the interaction of the modes of material nature, maintenance also takes place. When a child is born, the parents immediately see to its maintenance. The tendency for maintenance of offspring is present not only in human society, but in animal society as well. Even tigers care for their cubs, although the propensity is to eat other animals. By the interaction of the material modes of nature, creation, maintenance, and also annihilation take place inevitably. But at the same time, we should know that all of this is conducted under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm an English speaker, but sometimes the words are very grand. Okay. Everything is going on under that process. Creation is the action of Rajagun, the mode of passion. Maintenance is the action of Sattvagun, the mode of goodness. And annihilation is the action of Tamagun, the mode of ignorance. We can see that those who are situated in a mode of goodness live longer than those who are situated in the Tamagun or Rajagun. In other words, if one is elevated to the mode of goodness, he is elevated to a higher planetary system, where the duration of life is very great. Udvam gajanti sattvastihi. Great rishis, sages, and sannyasis who maintain themselves in sattva gun, or the mode of material goodness, are elevated to a higher planetary system. Those who are transcendental even to the material modes of nature are situated in the mode of pure goodness. They attain eternal life in the spiritual world. The translation once again. Manu continued. So just to recap, actually, at this point, Svayambhuva Manu is, in one sense, speaking to Dhruv Maharaj to help him to understand and come to terms with the death of his brother, right? So he's continuing in his explanation of this world. So Manu continued, "My dear King Dhruva, it is simply by the illusory material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by the interaction of the three modes of material nature that creation, maintenance, annihilation take place." Okay. Om Agnan Disja Jnana Salakya Chakshunalitamyana Tasmei Shugurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopastam Stabdamyana Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Tati Swamarandikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Sati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. First of all, thank you all for coming today. I always think I will be sitting in this room alone to give class, so it's very nice that you come. I haven't given class for a few weeks because I've been a little sick. Today, I thought I won't run to Subal Gopal and ask him to change, although my voice, I don't know if I'm turning into a man, but although my voice has not really come back to its usual way, it's hard, I almost don't recognize my own voice. But this verse is actually quite special because it speaks about the three modes. I imagined, which I think I was correct, in that all of us are practicing Krishna consciousness for a little while. So for me to go into the basics doesn't make any sense. However, just as I was about to speak, my little piece of paper flew out, which was based on a class by Krishna Kshetra Swami, where he spoke about, or series of classes actually, where he spoke about relishing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes we come to class and we're in another headspace, we may be tired, I maybe have read the verse a little too quickly, the purport, it's a little, what's happening here. So my main point today is to go through this verse in detail, and as I always do, or I try to do, we see about the practical application in our lives, okay? So, let's see how it goes. Microphone. This is where the IT support gets a bit annoyed because I start jumping around the room. But it is what it is. Okay, so, see how much I can balance in one hand. So, here we go. Yes, please, sorry. Okay, so the first part of the verse talks about creation takes place with the ingredients of the 5 elements. What are the 5 elements of material nature? Creation. Fire? Yeah.
Fire, earth, water, ether.
What did we miss? Nice, Hare Krishna. Okay, so creation. So it's made up of the 5 elements. Okay, and then it says as soon as the interaction of the modes of material nature take place, then maintenance happens. An example that Srila Prabhupada gives in the book is offspring, that parents take care of their offspring. So just as when us grahastas are thinking, yes, here we are, maintenance, that's in Sattva Gun, he talks that even animals do this. Even animals are taking care. There is a propensity. As a mother, I can say as soon as the baby is born, something happens. I didn't really have a propensity for having children before before having children of my own. But as soon as the baby was there, it was like, my goodness, it was like I would protect to the last fight the baby and the child. You know, it's like a strange thing. And you see that within animals as well. They protect their offspring like this. This is that sort of natural tendency for maintenance. Okay. And then it talks about creation, of course, being in Rajagun. So we have passion. Maintenance being in Sattva-gun. Okay, so goodness. And here it talks about annihilation. Yeah. So we're talking about, let's use this word, destruction. And this is in Tamagun, yeah? So, yeah, the second part of this purport talks about that if we are situated in Sattva Gun, then naturally we will live a longer life. And if you go beyond the modes and you reach, of course, the material plane. But on this practical point, it will talk about mostly this first part of this verse. So these parts we already know, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, that take care, right, of these different areas that we go through. Is everyone sort of familiar with this? Or basically familiar with this? The word that Srila Prabhupada uses was superintendence. I don't know about you, but I put my hand up and said I had to look it up. What does this word mean? So it means being in charge and making sure that everything is working or being taken care of, which most of us understand that Krishna is doing, right? He's looking over all of this area, right? Okay. An interesting part of this is that when, I think most of us, when we give lectures, we also look as to the inspiration or the words of the great saints or other people that come along. However, this verse is not so popular, it seems. But what did come along, which was very interesting, was this module of study was put into play of a product lifestyle. Srila Prahlad Lakshmana Singhadev ki jai. Looking over. So the idea was that if we look at this vision, is that Swami Manu is trying to explain to Dhruva this in relationship to giving him some knowledge behind his brother's death. Yeah, so on a deep level, when we understand, those who are mothers or fathers here will understand at that point of creation, or who's had a pet or seen birth, when there is creation, it is like a miracle of life. It's a miracle of the Lord, but it's also something amazing how it appears that something appears from nothing. 6 years ago, Murari wasn't here. Now he is, larger than life, as you see. So this is like a wonder that takes part. It says naturally, the parents, whoever will maintain that child. That's the natural part. And fortunately or unfortunately in this material world, when I became a mother, one suddenly saw my own parents getting old. You see this, this age, but you also see some sort of cycle. I already lost my father when I was 29 years old. So Krishna brought me into this level of what one could say destruction, or another word that can be used, which is a little bit softer, is transformation. As we are followers of Bhakti Yoga, we can all understand that nothing is ever lost in our process, even energetically, right? So when somebody also leaves their body, it's just the next destination, right? They are then moving on in that way to their next cycle. One can understand it on this level. So this is our module. And like I said, it's been put in play by like high up business people into the world of maintaining business and also product lifestyle. So in this understanding to creation, who had it sometimes where you wake up, something happens, some inspiration comes. Some sort of inspiration. No, maybe you wake up and say, we need to flood this world with kirtan. Could be like this, could be like this. Or maybe tomorrow it happens. We need to flood. So there is a beginning. There is a step where you think, wow, okay, in this moment, something needs to begin right now. And I can do kirtan. Well, not me, but you can do kirtan. I can begin in my humble way. Let us begin something. So something is created. Something is created. Like, for example, we didn't used to have Mataji Kirtan here. It was that our Simachalam ladies a little bit shy. We could see today morning, with puja, they were a little shy. And so they wanted that we always do Kirtan behind some closed doors somewhere. And we did in the ashram and behind, And then we're like, no, come on, if you're feeling unsettled, which some of the ladies were, then let's go in front of Lord Nishingadev and begin. So for the last 2 years, it's normal, right? You come in, we do kirtan in front of Lord Nishingadev. Yeah, so that's a part. So it was a creation. And then the maintenance, you begin with the kirtan, No, to take over the world with kirtan, You begin. And then you're like, God, how do I do this? I've been doing kirtan non-stop for 2 days. Now, I don't know how I can manage it, So then you think of, some terms that came up, In this mode of sattva gun, we are sort of learning and building and seeing what's working. And then you realize, okay, 24 hours, one person, maybe that's not working. Okay, I need to call someone in Petra. Come on, I need some backup. Lolita, come on, you need to help. We need to do this. So then we maintain it through what is natural, Not through sleeping, not sleeping for 24 hours, but like actually trying to pull in the team, make it grow, make something happen. Now naturally, this is hard for some of us. At some point, after half a year, when you realize the kirtan is going very good, you realize, no, I just feel I'm changing and I need to go more into a philosophical way. I need to go change. I actually want to go on Sankirtan. I want to go on Sankirtan. You think, okay, what's this about? I started up this kirtan, what do I do? So at this moment, in this part, one has to be open for change in order to grow, right? So in that you may be like, okay, let this go. But actually Petra's doing fine. She's good with this, heading up this kirtan. Let me go then in the other direction. So this is the process of where we're working. It works, It works. Sometimes we naturally have to let go. For me, I have to say personally, that is the hardest part. But in order for us to really move, sometimes we have to let go of things which don't make sense in that time. Is everyone still with me? Still with me? Good. At the back. Still with me? Good. Okay. So now, practically, I wanted to see if we can really apply these 3 modes for practical things in life. I've given 2 examples. So the natural process of a human being, of being born and dying, and also about not taking the world over with kirtan. So it's like sometimes spiritual life, we are can be a little bit lost after we're in the daily program, we're working, and then we see that somehow something is not moving. Internally, it's usually like this. Something's not moving. And often many devotees make the mistake of saying, okay, right, I'm going to just leave and go outside. At least in my last 12 years here, every few months sometimes some thought comes up. The mind is in some element. At this time in the last years, one becomes a bit more settled in understanding, okay, let's try to take as much as possible a mature approach to understanding what is internally going on with us. And what's very nice is if we can use spiritual knowledge that's given within the books and apply it to us in other examples. I just take my phone out because I had some. Actually, I didn't. I just had the idea that this could be applied for emotional topics, practical and mental topics. But, it's like an open experiment. Let's see if we can go through with it. Is there anything that someone can think of that we can use as an example? Normally our brain is quite thoughtful, but it looks a little busy over there. As an example to this 3-stage process of creation, maintenance, and destruction or transformation. Anything that anyone has? Anything to do with the ashram, Subal? You're thinking of the ashram? Oh, yes. With you. Oh, please, you speak. We had a very, very bad case of bed bugs in the men's ashram that basically made everyone run away.
Yeah, and then the ashram was newly built with help of many devotees. And also actually around that time or a little later, new devotees came, like the last 2-3 years. Brian, for example, great devotee, great help for the whole temple. Vidasa, Prabhu, many devotees came. So sort of a creation was going on. Now it's more, or maybe also creation is still taking place, hopefully, but it's more about maintenance now, establishing sattva gun, like cleanliness, order. Everything is sorted out, everybody has their steady service. And yeah, I guess beforehand there was probably the transformation or destruction. Like there were, the most Prabhus were living in the house where the Gihastas live now. And this was pretty chaotic. And many devotees were there for a few weeks or months, then left again. And it was great, one can say transformation or quite a destruction at the beginning. Or with the bed bugs, also quite a destructive feature, I guess. So I guess, yeah, in that sense, maybe that's an example for those 3 aspects.
Thank you. Brian, I'll just add to that. When the bed bugs came, we could only see the negative side of destruction. But what came after this was that basically the reason the bed bugs could survive was that all of the walls were wooden. Every single wall in the ashram was wood, so they could be everywhere. So no matter what we did or what we tried, they were not going. So that's why the whole ashram had to be renovated. The good thing is that we made it fireproof, which is why you see these stairs here. And in that way, sometimes in the old days, devotees, we didn't take care of what was needed. And now it's a very nice ashram. Oh, it's a very nice ashram. We were allowed to go up there. We were like, I want this on the Mataji ashram too, So every room is nice and actually has this sort of sattvic feel. Were you here before the ashram was renovated? Yes, it was quite run down at one point, It was quite run down. So it was the Lord who somehow helped in this, and it took quite some time and a lot of Lakshmi, but it was a necessary destruction for construction. And I would, if you don't mind me saying, Subal Gopal, that at that point it was a very external vision of what was happening, in terms of knocking walls down and people coming and going. Now we look at working much more on the internal side, right? Like I know Subal Gopal and many other devotees are trying to support and maintain the devotees that are indeed here. Brian, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I feel that I see it almost every day, this kind of process in my service. Especially like we are looking for different ideas how to improve or make things better. And ideas are in the mode of passion, like we want to create.
Can you give an example?
Can I give an example? For example, in the ashram, we just put timetable, let's say a schedule, that one can fill in during the week. Mm-hmm. So, okay, let's say somebody would like to do a reading circle.
Oh, nice.
So you can write, okay, on Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m., you can write it and you can erase it then when the week is finished, so that people knows, okay, somebody's going to do it, so I may join also spontaneously. So this, for example, it's an idea that was implemented.
Oh,
And
nice.
then I always see also maintenance, how then it's followed up by some action, by somebody try to endeavor to still keep going on.
Nobody forgot to erase last week's.
Yeah.
For example, no, I'm joking.
Yeah. But also any kind of improvement or like little change in any kind of service, and see how like then if the people are following up, or like they see it's not so relevant, or somehow it's not matching with the personality of the person. And then I see also distraction. So usually some kind of neglectful this detail or the idea, or somehow it's not followed up. And the transformation, I also see it, because anyway it's not wasted, but anyway it's an experience that then may lead also to other ideas, because we take the takeaways from what was the experience with this implementation of idea.
It's interesting, yes, because again, talking about this point of destruction, it's like a very negative word, huh? This sort of destruction. This is why I like this when we talk about it in terms of transformation. And it works, I think, within our philosophy, because we understand that energy transmutes. And it was not that we have to make everything into a positive thing, but it was very interesting in this. You won't be able to see it here, but it's like a whole diagram based on these three modes. It's like a product lifestyle philosophy. But he made this idea of the third process really quite deep. This idea of transformation. Microphones. It's just my karma with microphones. So he wrote, find a problem, set some goals, analyze and improve, and lastly, make sure that things that don't work are thrown away. Yeah? And then we rebuild. So we start the process again. So it's like an interesting step, because one of the points I wanted to, because we had practical now, we had a practical example of the ashram, and we had a daily example in the life of the temple commander. I wanted to try to go, because it's meant to be a bit of a Mataji class, sorry you don't mind, that we go on an emotional example. Can we really take this process on an emotional level? And I say that like with humor. Of course, the Prabhus have emotions as well, so it's not that there isn't. But say some emotional problem that might come up. Maybe a very common one. I don't know, I'm in the ashram life is hard. Should I stay here? It's practical and not practical, right? It's like, well, I'm in the... Is it emotional enough? Maybe it's not so emotional. What could we do a little bit more? Come on, Nora, you're from Lebanon. A little more. What could be more? Okay, Prabhu, please. But you need a microphone because nobody hears you at home. Who has a microphone? It's nice. You've really used the space in a temple room today.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
On the emotional level, one I can think of is from holding the finger to holding the hand. This is an emotional journey of a human being.
What do you mean holding the finger?
So, I still remember when I was pretty young, as a child, I used to hold the finger of my parents and walk. So I started learning how to walk. That was the beginning of the journey of my life, holding a finger.
Okay.
So I used to learn every day. I still learn, but that was a more steep learning curve when the holding a finger and started to walk. Then came the maintenance phase when I grew up. Used to spend more time with parents. We used to be more interactive. It was not really a one-way street in which only learning was happening with me, but we used to interact more. We used to spend time with each other. We used to take care of each other. It was more of the maintenance phase. Now the time has reached when they are pretty old. Now I am holding their hand to take them to the hospitals, to take care of them. So From holding the finger to holding the hand, it's a journey. Now I would say I am in the transformation phase in which I am helping them transform. And yeah, I think for me, this is pretty emotional when I look back all
This is
this.
emotional because it's natural to reflect, right, on all of the processes from before. Most of us will flash back to being a child, and most of those memories have some sort of parent involved in them. And then also the times in our youth, college years or whatever, where we're just flying by. Hi mom, hi dad, bye, see you later, it's all good, And then later at this end, this process is very interesting process that also is spoken more and more within the movement. Sometimes in the early days, when somebody, we always speak about them leaving the body, we don't talk about death, right? When somebody left the body, often devotees would be like, it's fine for me, I know it's with Krishna, I know it's this, like this. And sometimes they meant it, other times it was a way of cutting off the emotional journey that goes with it. Most people, there is this Prabhupada disciple, Gita, Mataji, who's in America, who has written, I think it's called The Final Journey, a whole aspect of how we deal with this, right? Not just in terms of the ritual, but also later she has a handbook which I think also covers these 7 stages of bereavement. These stages of what we go through to understand and reflect about the evolvement of what is happening at this stage. Just as our parents gave birth to us, and then the next level, then we also bring children into this world. One understands then, okay, there is a journey that goes on here. When I lost my dad when I was 29, my first experience of death was the person who raised me was my grandmother. And she passed away when I was 18. And when I was 18, and very young, innocent 18, very sort of untried in the world, I was very angry at God. At Krishna, I did not understand. She told me everything about being a Vaishnavi, in terms of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, cultural values, what we were, many things. And I could not understand that she'd been taken away. I could not understand, and I battled with it. And some devotees were around and told me, okay, it's part of life. She's gone to Krishna. And I was like, but why she's gone to Krishna? I need her. Why did she go? Come on. Krishna's everybody. What's this? I'm 18, I've got no idea. And I lived alone with her and my 2 brothers. So I was really in this world. And I have to say, practically, which is why you will see that my lectures are quite practical. Practically, I had no support in that way. So practically, I went out and did what other people of university time did, especially in London. We speak about it often, but perhaps not so much today, until I got to a point where Krishna arranged where I met some devotees. He arranged actually a lot of bad health at 22 before I arranged it. But, I went through this battle. And this battle, other devotees have also gone through, where there is a lot of anger. One doesn't want to use the word hatred, but it's almost this idea of rejecting God. Now you reject because you're like, if you are here and you are present and you are really super in attendance, then why do you make something so bad like that happen? Huh? Where do you take away this, right? It was like 10 years later when my father passed away. And I was also, Krishna arranged that I was also present. And both experiences were mystical. But Krishna arranged it in such a way that I saw his presence in the whole process, that I was like, wow, Krishna exists. So it was amazing transformation in this. And the first, I lost my first parent, one can say. My Guru Maharaj said my first guru at 18. And I was like, where are you, God? The second time, 10 years later, a whole process in between. When I lost my father, he died in between Janmastami and Radhastami. It was on Lord Ganesh's appearance day. I was not meant to be in the home. I was not meant to have been sleeping where I was, but there was a mouse upstairs. As everyone knows, Ganesh has a mouse. And I was like, Mama, I'm not sleeping in a room with a mouse. I'm sleeping downstairs, which no one ever slept downstairs. So I slept downstairs, and I could be there for my dad, actually, in these final moments. I could be there to chant, to call out, to see very much the very last moments. I could be in my imagination, but I felt I literally saw the soul go at that moment. The heartbeat remained for some time, but I remember singing in the Shingadev prayers. And by the Lord's mercy, my Guru Maharaj called me quite soon after. And I said, Guru Maharaj, I wasn't singing Hare Krishna. I was singing Namaste Narasimhaya. And he chastised me in a loving way and said, do you think the Lord is really just one way or the other? Sectarian, I think he used. The Lord hears the prayers. You were praying, you know. The final thing that my dad did before he passed was, with every ounce of strength that he had, he put his hands together, he bowed, and then he collapsed to the floor. This was in front of the altar there. Now, for me, it could not have got more spiritual than one tried. Because just at that time, I was also studying Bhakti Shastri. 15 years ago, we were one of the first groups at the Mana that finally put Bhakti Shastri there. So I had Prabhupada disciples with everybody. It was such an infused class. So I would go home, my dad would pick me up. And he was like, what are you learning? I'm like, Dad, I'm learning about Bhagavad Gita. And I would preach to him. And I told him, and Dad, you know what happens when you pass away? And this should be done, and this should happen. And he looked at me and he said, tell your mama what should be done when somebody passes. And I was like, why is he asking my mama to sort this out? One didn't know that he would pass a few months, later. So everything was then, we followed exactly what was in Bhagavad Gita at that point of taking care when somebody passes. And everything one understands, right, has this then path and this role. Was it sad? Was it destructive? Yes, of course. When you have a body, a living being, and you're given then some bowl with some ashes in it, yes. But on the other side, when we understand that the soul is not here, now we have what is the material element. The soul has gone then, right, to another place. We can understand this process of transformation. At this moment I speak on this, and it's very nice that you bring this point up, Prabhu, because Dhruva Maharaj also faces a similar part. At this point that his brother is killed, he is angry like anything, right? He's killing and raging and moving through. Actually, this is a stage of bereavement. Anger beyond anything that you've understood, and anger at anybody or everybody and everything that comes on the way. Dhruva takes this to the next level. He is killing everything in his path, possibly because they killed his brother, but he doesn't actually completely know, right? So he's killing and he's moving. This is why in that point people intervene. And this is why, practically speaking, I just speak about this because emotions are very normal in Krishna consciousness. Anger in any spiritual movement is a topic that none of us want to talk about. Oh, Prabhu was angry, That's not good. He was not acting to his spirit. Is what sometimes the anger is part of this destruction that will lead naturally to the transformation and this element of us. If we embrace only a part of us, but don't embrace all of us, then we will keep with this dark side. This dark side where we feel that this ignorance or this cannot be embraced. But all of this, if Krishna is actually, sorry for this word, super interdependence, then we understand he is looking through every single aspect of this, meaning he is looking through every single aspect of us. There is no part that we can keep away from Krishna. When we are then in our maintenance, in our sattva gun, when we are flowing in spiritual life, this we also give over to the Lord, right? This we are happy. So let's give over the other parts too. And this is the part, sometimes one thinks, whoa, when the parents leave, what happens? I was so attached to my father. What was it? Why he had to be taken? I was still, in my 20s. I know for sure I would never have come to stay in Simhachalam had he not passed. I came 2 years actually after that point, because those ties that sometimes tie us in the place were then free. And these last 12 years that I've been here are the most transformative years that I have seen. We have many devotees that came at the same time, Munendragana, Advaita Simha. Many of them appeared. Kripasundar was a little bit before. They are somehow still here, and we have this whole process in the temple, not just the ashram, that we go through this idea of transformation, that people come, they go, but hopefully when it's the right stage to leave the temple, we create in a different way. Sometimes people leave to create businesses and that are able to maintain other devotees. It is not just, one step right in our life. So it's nice. Are there any... Oh, Brian, any questions or you're just holding? Please, say if you... No. Was that okay? Did anyone think I stepped too much away from the book, or was that all right in the... We have a very thoughtful devotee over here. What are you thinking of this process?
Hare Krishna, it was very beautiful how you brought the very philosophical level to a very practical level. Sometimes it can appear a bit abstract, and that way also we can just also be human about it, because we all have a conditioned nature, and to be real about it and not fake it till you make it. Some people say like that, and the internal sometimes follows the external transformation. But ultimately, you're so right that we have to give space for the transformation, for a more higher version of ourselves to emerge. And for this, we have to let go, even though it's painful, like certain concepts, about ourselves, our dreams we had about our lives. Sometimes we get so much soaked with ideas that are not good for our soul in Kali Yuga, and there's attachment to this. And that's why it's very beautiful to see also the beauty of the transformation, to rephrase it, and also when Srila Prabhupada was in Calcutta and the bombs were dropping, and he just ate his prasadam peacefully, kind of, and he said, "Oh, this is Shiva's dance," and he's helping us in our transformation to overcome the false ego, yes, so that was very inspiring. I'm sure there are many examples, and one can probably dig deeper into that on a personal level also, for each of us to reflect on. And that was very, very interesting, your approach to that. And from your Gurudev was very philosophical, but also very practical at the same time.
Thank you very much. I very much like this topic, faking it till we make it. Now, this was, like, we've been around a little while, so 20 years ago, this was the way of it, Fake it till you make it basically meant you come in the temple, Brian comes in, not like Brian, but like a army type Brian, and says, "Hey Noor, get in the kitchen." And you're like, I'm like, "No, I don't know, what should I do?" Just get in the kitchen, just do it, get up for morning program, just get on with it, okay? Don't worry, you'll go back to Krishna. And you're like, "Right, okay, let's go for it." What the heck? Petra, what am I doing here? What's this? Yeah, I had the same. He told me the same thing. Okay, let's just try it for a little while. So it's really like you just put everything in. You just gave it all up. You didn't think about it. When I first came, I was told I didn't need to read nothing. I just need to come for class. It's enough. Just keep going. So we were like on this mission. Is it really? It's not really like that now, right? Is it still this term? Does it come up? Fake it till you make it. Do you have that, or is it still a little bit? You still have it? Hendrik was a little bit like... Okay, in the first canto in Srimad Bhagavatam, right at the beginning, introduction, it says, you don't have to accept everything that's written, but theoretically be open to it. Now, this is something on the same path, but not the same. So theoretically being open means you're not going to say, "Oh, what is this about women and this, blah, blah, blah." You're saying, "Okay, I don't get it, but maybe there's something behind this." And then in our daily lives, it's like some point of temple life and our sadhana and our script, some things are difficult. Like for me, that everything is sung and everything in Sanskrit or Bengali and this, and I'm tired and I don't remember what I'm singing. And then I ask like someone who's truthful, do you really remember what you're singing about every time? Like, or, no, I don't remember. I do remember the meaning after, but, you know, it was like, take some time, right, to put it together. And so you're like, all right, we'll just sort of continue with this. But at one moment, I said to a god brother of mine, well, how long will you fake it? And what if you don't make it? You know, like, what is it? Because, sorry, I've been around in London. This is a very good phenomenon in London. So many devotees join every year. And a senior devotee said to me, next year they're not there. But next year a whole more turn up. And then when I came here, I thought, oh, Germans are different. Meaning most of us are not German, right? But, like, it seems that the German temples bring in devotees who are much more sure in their approach. They seem to question everything at one element, but they seem to stay longer. And isn't this much better than in our creation when we've rushed it through? I really understand I have a Kshatriya nature, so passionate nature, let's begin something. But this maintenance, to be in this sattva gun, is hard, because at that moment where something comes up which is troubling us, then yeah, by the way, we've dropped possibly into tamagun, huh? And tamagun is maybe this taboo subject, like, you know, sort of, I have some demons or whatever I have to work with. But it's not, it's just normal. If it says if we're beyond the three modes of material nature, right, we end up in the spiritual world. And by the way, we're still here. I mean, we're in the spiritual world in terms of Samhachalam. We got this far. But actually, this idea that sometimes we jump out into the bomb stage. Oh, wow. Oh, thank you for your entrance. we jump out. We deal with whatever's going on. We come back in again. Huh? This is the... also, what challenge is faking it till you make it? I think is often Mahatma Prabhu, right? With his also self-care classes. Now, self-care is a bit of a funny topic, because I once had a girl in the ashram who was so much into self-care, but in a modern way. Modern self-care is sort of I, right? So I don't care if you can't do it, I can't do it. It's not my problem. But you can't do it, right? So one has to be very careful of this modern self-care. But if you go to Mahatma Prabhu's workshop self-care, you will understand how he puts Krishna in the middle of the self-care. And there are affirmations like, I will take care of my body because Krishna is housed within my body, and therefore to be able to serve, I will take care of my needs. You know, so it's spiritualized. And in that, when we spiritualize the whole process, there's less of the fake in it. Today I can't do it. I have my, like my time or whatever. It's okay. There is tomorrow. And in that time, I will make the best of what I can. So after faking it till you make I faked it at least for 5 years. Honestly speaking. At least 5 years. And then I had a huge health crisis during the COVID time. And then it just didn't make any sense anymore. And then the first time I started to speak about the dark, people were like, wow, shocked. But now it's quite normal to speak about such things. If you listen to different lecturers, if you listen to people like Gopi or different gurus who speak about this other side, well, understand it's just this motion. Do you have a question, Ramananda? Oh, Henrik, you have a question, sorry. A little question. Challenge. Oh, super. I love questions. I hope I can answer. Can I see you free after the class in case I forget? Just shortly.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Henrik?
When I've read many times now, we have to transcend those three modes of nature.
Yes.
to achieve progress in the Krishna consciousness. And how can I do this when I'm always inside those modes of nature?
This question troubled me for a long time. I think maybe Ramananda could give another answer. I'll give you my answer. Let's see if he wants to add something. We're basically in the material modes, right? It's like the best sometimes I feel like is that I'm in sattva gun. That's like pretty good. It's pretty good, you know. That means I'm feeling quite calm, good, nice. Sometimes, Henrik, we naturally transcend it in these moments where you will feel a spiritual spark. When you're in a kirtan and you could only think of Krishna in that moment. When you read something where you're done so high that you're only thinking, Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, Gauranga, in those moments, Purijan Prabhu, so Senior Srila Prabhupada, disciples said, these moments are real in our spiritual life. We have moments, these are jewels where we have transcended. However, as we are conditioned, we float a little bit back down again. He said that when we have enough of these jewels, these moments in spiritual life, it could be that at one moment you chant, and you chant to a level where you don't want to stop chanting. You do kirtan to the level you don't want it to stop. You read and you're like, oh please, just let me carry it. On those levels where you meet that point, those jewels will join up at one moment, and we will then enter transcendence. It is not that suddenly we become overnight pure devotees, right? So this is the point that I just wanted to say for souls like me who are like, wow, what's the material nature, And I know mostly I operate, you'll see me running around half the time when I'm not sick. And, there's no Rajagun. It's like some new idea, something goes about. But it's part of my service also of what I do. So I accept it for Krishna. I have to learn, and Krishna makes me sick, as the girls know, for the last 3 weeks, where I then jump into Tamagun to get out and be like, okay, right, internal. Time to hear, cannot speak for some days. Time to reflect, some time for reading, some time to pray, that the chanting, which took 5 hours when one is sick, continues, right? So it's like we are going through this process. The idea of Bhakti Yoga is that it gives us enough opportunity where we could reach transcendence. Yeah? We are walking on that path. And if you may reflect on a life before, I don't know so much of your life before, but I know mine was sort of esoteric spiritual. So I liked things, it was open. And I like to look at the emotional side and work with things. But it never reached the level that I found within Bhakti Yoga. There were other things I was not so happy with in one sense, but the actual philosophy of Srila Prabhupada, his presence, what he gave enough of those inside. One recommendation for all newer or non-new devotees is to refresh oneself, go to festivals, go to retreats, go to seminars where you can just catch those gems and jewels where one feels that inspiration again. We pray that we get replacement sweet, but it's so amazing, Go with the right people to India. Touch that holy dust of Vrindavan, of Vishana. Something changes, Something changes. Ramananda, you want to add something more about Hendrik's question? You satisfied?
Is it when I try to be in sattva gun? Mm-hmm. Is this the best chance to transcend in this?
Yeah, because you are entering into a space where you are sort of equiposed and in a level where one can move over then, to transcendence, from the stage of goodness. I mean, sometimes when we are ecstatic in a kirtan, externally it could look like Rajagun, but actually internally we are connecting with the Lord. Internally we're in that space where we are trying to fix our mind on the Lord, trying to, what can we say about goodness? Yeah, to almost have the mind a bit free and open for the Lord. In Tamagun stage, sometimes it's so full with different random stuff and this and whatever happened before or after, right? Future, in Tamagun we're always about what happened before. In Rajagun it's always about what will happen. And in goodness we are in the present moment. Present moment, completely here and now. And in that stage, when we, for example, chant, and we can really be open to the stage of Krishna being present, then it's easier to go to that stage. When we always jump in here and, the mind goes, that's harder, right? So it's this. Oh, Noor had a question, and Ramananda also. Ramananda, the microphone is near him. It's okay. I don't know. Sometimes we say ladies first, but...
Hare Krishna, thank you for this huge inspiration you're giving. I was thinking if you want to look at this process from some non-personal perspective, like some of international perspective of what's happening recently, because I come from a war zone kind of, so I'm a bit always thinking about it. So sometimes it's really hard to see that what's happening, our war victims or the people that's suffering, we know that there is some karma and collective karma, but sometimes you feel like I can't bear this anymore and this is nonsense, and like what's the purpose of it? Why is it going? So if you want to take it as a whole picture of the war in a certain country or the certain aspects happening with certain people, the way they are being killed or whatever. So I want to know, because sometimes I'm stuck and it's affecting like the overall health and perspective and my sadhana and everything. So how can you transform, like personally, how can I perceive it? And like in your own perspective, what might be, like, I know it's a tough question to predict, but like what's coming next after the war will be ended, like every time, and like everything will go on path again and everything will settle, like, but it's people who are suffering.
The unfortunate part is that we are in Kali Yuga, right? So one can talk about creation. Creation begins also, one can say the creation of destruction can also begin. Some political leader, whoever, influenced by the lesser modes, I want this. You have a leader, it's the same mood. I want this. Okay, then we go to war. Like how they fight over Jerusalem, how they fight about. So the war, they have created that war. They've begun. Now the war begins. The war begins to maintain, we need more guns. We need atomic weapons. We need this. We need to have new strategic movements. We need to go here. We need to get this. They maintain it. The destruction of the people, of course. Destruction of civilians. Destruction of people who want to be in goodness and fight for their country, right? This is what people say, fight for my country to the end. They want to be in a mode of goodness. They just end up in this war. Now in Kali Yuga, it's an unfortunate part. In a war zone, what people have described to me, fortunately I was not in a war zone, but my father came out of one. He had to escape from Africa in this time of Idi Amin, who started to kill anybody. All non-nationals were killed, were being killed, left, right, center. So he had to leave. He had 30 minutes to decide if he goes to America or England. In this moment, I was like, can you describe it? I remember saying, he's like, well, it's coming. People are being killed. And you just have that time to pack one suitcase. As we saw when the Ukraine refugees came, they came with plastic bags in their hand, right? To leave that situation. For them, it was death in one sense. He had to leave everything behind that he'd built up, that he'd made, everything. But what he did, he kept his life. I met other Muslim refugees from that time also who told me that they left later. They left when they literally saw their neighbors being killed around them. They left when they saw everything happening right in front of their eyes. So the destruction and the karma was heavy. They left that situation, they went into a different environment. People who are stuck with their country and stuck with this body will say, no, I will stay in my country and fight till the very end. But what is this? Prabhupada questions this at every point. I'm an English woman, you're Croatian, you're this, you're from Lebanon, there's this. These destinations make no sense in this place or this world. There is a devotee from Croatia, she grew up in an island, and she describes it as a heavenly planet. It's amazing, the water is blue, it's nice. My friend just went to Sri Lanka, she called me. She said, it's so amazing here. We won 1 hour. It's like a heavenly side of the world. When you're in a war zone, it is like some of the worst destruction. Now for you, looking in, not having to participate, hopefully, directly in the war, not having to be a part, for you it's often, and for many people, a philosophical journey. At Gopi just now, when we're in Vaishnsi, we're all enjoying prasadam, kirtan, this. And she's like, no, this is not good. We need to be out there. We need to see what's happening. And then we can preach, and then we can give, and then we can go deeper. So these things that you see and you learn, you understand this process is happening, but you know it's not happening everywhere. It's time, place, circumstance. This is the worst of the ages, Kali Yuga. It may be Lord Chaitanya's golden age. That's for us to bring it to places. But otherwise, it's terrible. Sometimes we hear on social media and ISKCON, this happened, this happened, this happened. I'll tell you, and I've said it before, the things I've experienced outside, in a nice part of London, is so much more terrible than anything that I've seen in the devotee community. More or less, huh? It's like this. So what are we fighting with? Mine, everything I experienced was subtle. Things behind the doors. Children being raped. Sometimes killed. Other things. It's all quiet. Is this good? At war, at least it's in front of your face. You see it right in front of your eyes. And then you can talk about it. You can speak about it. Mine were all shut door cases in one sense. And this is like more ignorant than this stuff right in front of us face. So I don't know if this helps it. Well, I'm sorry. But it's definitely a deep evolution process. To see that actually this is just the turning of the material world. This is not a process described for the spiritual world. The spiritual world and spiritual life is eternal. But we are here. And for all our good intentions, some part of us is still entrenched right in this world. And when we see death in front of us, sometimes it brings us much more. And it's so intense that we're like, there is nothing more. There is nothing. But it's not true. It's just part of this heavy process. Shiva's dance. Until we get to the next part. And how can you say he's dancing, right? How can he dance? But this is the part of it. When he's dancing, he looks a little gruesome though, if you see the pictures. It's not like right? It's like a whole skulls and, this process is there. But give it time, we can speak more about this because this is I can understand, if this is your world that you face and that you come from, it takes a whole level of understanding to see what's beyond this. When Srila Prabhupada was joining, he went to his Guru Maharaj, but this is the time of British independence, They were raging, they were fighting, people were also being killed left, right. And then his Guru Maharaj said, spiritual life, but this cannot wait. Krishna consciousness can wait. This will always go on. When the war stops there, maybe it begins here. It begins in another place. You look at the history of Germany in that way. My goodness, this stuff, right? Ended here. We hope it doesn't. One never knows, right? Holocaust. Who were we with? One other devotee who spoke about the details of what happened. This is not even, when I hear such things, I can't sleep sometimes. It's like this, right? But that's the point, that it's like in the Buddhist approach, we experience what we see. That's why they also believe in not having a television or anything. Because all of those experiences enter into our consciousness. But often it's like what we do in temple life. We take ourselves away from that life outside. You try also with the phone is a very heavy thing, because sometimes you may flick through and be like, whoa, don't want to see it, but what's happening, So we flick out of it to enter into a more spiritual part of our understanding. Many devotees will keep it in tune with what is happening in outside life because they need to keep on track. I will do it in a very small way, because I know I'm so sensitive. Then when I hear about the atrocities in any country, in any place, indeed I will flick through it, whatever it may be. And I know that I'm in the modes floating around. So one is trying to put enough of Krishna in, that enough knowledge of Krishna consciousness comes in to really understand this process in a deeper way. We began right now, right? Because I find that we go through creation, maintenance, destruction. It's not really part of us. That's a part of the world being created and destroyed. But actually, when we make this real and we understand, okay, then there's a process that's going on in there. I feel like we could talk about this longer, but we will. Ramananda, before. No, please, you came especially. Is it okay? Question? Last question. Come, last question.
No, it was more a comment and would maybe open up another section. I don't think.
Oh, another topic, huh? You think it's not relevant for... You feel like you want to say something. What did you think of these points? Was it okay?
I mean, to this point, I would just say,
Please.
all destruction, there comes a new creation, and the point is, you know, what comes out of this. And war is like a wind; it moves over the planet, here and there. You know, as I said, you know, in Germany, I'm
Communist times that Ramananda comes
quite
from.
familiar still with my grandparents who fought in the war. But they also built it then something new, and this depends in what mode the people are who
After.
emerge from the war,
Yeah.
how they create again, and therefore I think it's important to spread Krishna consciousness, because then after such a creation we have the opportunity to build something more valuable for the people with more spiritual understanding. That would be maybe the best outcome.
Yeah, preaching in war places.
Like, this was actually a point what I wanted to say, you know, from our experience here in temple life. You probably remember this one devotee who wanted to make fire in the old heating system and used petrol and burned down the whole heating system. But somehow or other the insurance company, they were quite, how you say?
1 year before Jagadish, our doctor, our treasurer was really on the case that we should have insurances. I was just like, insurance? We don't have money, you know, it's quite expensive. But these insurances saved the day.
They paid basically a new heating system out of it.
20,
So it was
30 grand, yeah.
it was the how to say, the ignorance of one person. Although he want to maintain it, you know, he want to make just fire again in the heating system, because
Petrol.
you know. So he burned down the whole thing, and then because of the insurance company, somehow they paid us a new heating system.
Which,
So,
I mean, it was needed.
You know, you know, through everything, and this I think also what the Prachetas or Swayambhuv Manu want to try to tell through Maharaj, like, you know, everything, even if it looks terrible, like death or war situation, and if you're in it, of course it appears always very frightening and terrifying, but there's always the chance that something better can evolve out of it. But it depends on the people
And the
who,
consciousness.
who evolve out of it and what they do out of it.
Yeah. That's the last point on creation too, that the consciousness and intelligence behind it is what will lead the way through. Huh? Sometimes we wake up with ideas or different modes, but like Prabhu was saying here, then it may not actually be the best for us, right? But with consciousness and intelligence and this openness to work through the process, we can see if it's really the best for us or not. In daily life as well as something deeper. Yeah. It took me a long time, Noah, to get over this idea that this destruction or transformation is good. Mine was more in depth, you know. But one makes peace with it at some point, and with that understanding, there is this sort of process that runs through it. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so